Hey guys, Adam coming back at you today with another chat just about some outside blues sounds. So I just want to give a shout out to Scott McAllister, who dropped a comment here on one of my last videos on the altered scale. Was asking questions just kind of about the half whole diminished scale. So I just want to kind of talk about something, just really basic here with the half whole diminished scale. First and foremost, when it comes to outside sounds, I'm not I don't always play outside, right? I don't always try to, I'm not that kind of like fusion kind of guy. So I kind of got some of these sounds and got hip to some of these sounds though from my time at Berkeley. Obviously, it's kind of like the thing, but my teacher was really, really great about still keeping things focused on roots music and just kind of keeping things, musical, right? So not overdoing stuff, not just playing outside just because I can. And so it's not something that I automatically grab for, but there are times where I hear things and I go, oh, that would be really cool over this. And when I'm improvising, that just kind of comes out. So I just want to take a couple minutes here and talk about that. So we talked about the altered scale. That's the one that I use the most. That's the most used outside sound that I use. We can check out in the key of G today just to refresh your memory a little bit on that. So altered scale, once again, I'm using this form just because I think it kind of builds off of the minor pentatonic scale that everyone knows already. I think it's really cool to see the guitar. If you come from, a blues background like I do, it's cool to see some of these jazzier, more complex sounds in a more familiar place, right? So I'm jumping off of the 4th string on the 5th fret, 6th fret, going to the next string, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 6th fret, the next string, I'm going to the 4th fret, the 6th fret, and then the root again on the 1st string, 3rd fret. So that would be altered, right? So that's pretty harsh on the ear at first. You have those, really nice kind of tritone intervals. It's a really cool Robin Ford lick. I use that one and abuse it quite a bit. I think that it's really cool to resolve it back to a major, or dominant chord, whatever it may be, right? Talking about using that going from the root to the 1 chord to the 4 chord, sorry. So half whole diminished, let's talk about that. So half whole diminished you're gonna see is really, really similar in the first 5 notes to the altered scale. In fact, the first 5 notes are the exact same. Cool. Once we get to that C sharp, things go a little bit differently. So first of all, I want you to note is that the altered scale, like most major scale, or modes, have 7 notes in them, whereas the half whole diminished, it's a diminished scale, it's symmetrical, it has 8 notes in it. So we start with these first 5. And where we differ is we get a natural 5th, a natural 6th, a flat 7 again, and then the root. So these 2 notes, the 5th and the 6th, are what kind of separate the altered scale from the half whole diminished. So I'll play it all the way through. Cool. So Robin Ford uses it in a lot of places. I think I've heard him, use it over the 1 chord. I've heard him use it a lot over the 5 chord, kind of the turnaround in the blues. I don't think of it that much personally, so I can only speak to what I use it for. If I'm in like a 1 chord vamp, or like vamping over a dominant chord, whatever it may be, right? I'm in some kind of one chord vamp. There's only so many minor pentatonic licks that I can rip out before my brain starts getting a little bored, right? So that's where I start kind of going to some of these outside sounds. We'll talk about Lydian dominant next. I use that one a fair amount, and I think about that one a little differently. But it's the only time I really kind of pull out this half whole diminished thing is inside of those one chord vamps. And so I use the altered scale in those. I also like this half whole diminished. I think it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, my ear hears it where it can kind of resolve back into the same chord. All right, so cutting here, just kind of came up with a quick vamp, got my pedals out here for a second. So just looping a G7, so just G dominant 7 chord, right? So my first thought, if I'm jamming with people, static 1 chord, going for my bluesier licks, right? Maybe I'm pulling out some major tonalities, trying to stay ultimately though inside. Right? Something, Old Faithful licks, whatever it may be. And then somewhere when I'm kind of going around after a couple of times, I'm looking for something outside. So I'm gonna try to jump in on that half whole diminished at that point. Something like this. So in that example, I'll stop it for a second. In that example, you notice I'm really kind of getting something in there, getting some really weird stuff. It feels kind of a little unsettling, right? And then I'm resolving to almost a bluesier back into my minor pentatonic box. So that's kind of the example. That's why I show that form of that scale, right? There's a million different ways to play it, of course, but that form to me helped me kind of integrate it into my playing because I'm thinking more in terms of playing in the key, playing whatever over the chord, and then stepping outside for a second and then kind of stepping back in. So metaphorically, I look at it in my brain. It just helps me kind of categorize it, right? If I'm like walking down the sidewalk or I'm walking in a grocery store, right? And you kind of get, you're in the flow of traffic and then you're trying to get around somebody. So you kind of sidestep out and come back in, right? You're not staying all the way out there to be that person that's kind of going against the flow or just, staying in, the weird awkward space of walking on the wrong side of the sidewalk. You're getting around and then you're coming right back in. So I think of that same thing. Sorry if you guys hear my dogs jumping in. I have should do a dog tour at some point, I guess, and be a true influencer wannabe. But my dogs are gonna scratch here until I get out. But so wrapping up my thoughts on that. That's my thought overall, no matter what the outside sound is. So playing inside, whoop, jump outside really quickly, come right back and resolve it. You want to stick the landing. So resolving into a chord tone is really, really helpful. Chromaticism can be great to kind of step you back into it and kind of land you, give you some peace. Landing on a strong beat, right? So, whether it's the downbeat, right? Depending on what kind of music you're playing, maybe it's the 2 and the 4, right? If you're really kind of landing there, hold it for a second, just kind of, goose that note a little bit so you get a little bit of like exhale, right? So just some thoughts. The same thing I gave you guys for altered about finding little melodic cells, that was very southern of me, cells of the scale, right? Right? Finding little places to get around the neck on, right? That'll help you if you're playing in those other places, right? Right? So you hear I can kind of skip back in and out of my BB King box right there. Right? So I'm not playing anything too crazy complicated, just kind of jumping in and out of there. So little food for thought. Love to hear more from you guys. I'll do another video on Lydian dominant. I'm testing out some new sound stuff, so keep trying to mess with these microphones. Also, show you guys off my PRS Silver Sky. I don't pull this one out as much anymore, but just had it out, kind of working, intonating it. Last few days. Just figured I'd play it today. Let me know what you think of the sound. Right? Would love to hear your thoughts. Just trying to get some more kind of cool things out here and just enjoy sharing, music. So would love to hear more from you guys. If you have any questions on it, drop me a line, or any cool recordings I should check out that you've been listening to. Love to hear that as well. But y'all keep playing, and we'll talk to you next time.